Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 3rd edition of Rant-Om Thoughts. Before I start, let me preface by saying that, yes, I am aware that coronavirus is real, or COVID-19, or Chinese flu, or whatever they're calling it this week. I am aware that it is very real to those who have it and those who've lost loved ones to it. So the intention here is not to minimize anyone's pain or suffering. If you feel that you are vulnerable, by all means, take whatever precautions for yourself that you feel are necessary. But expecting others to give up their basic freedoms and alter their lifestyles just to give you a false sense of security makes you the selfish one. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the media. I don't trust the medical establishment. And I don't see why I should suddenly start doing so right now, after decades of them lying to us. I'll tell you who I do trust. Former Congressman Ron Paul. A few weeks ago, he posted wrote an article called the Corona Hoax. He doesn't call the disease itself a hoax, which is a claim made by people who've never read who didn't even bother to read the article. But I will link it below so you can read it for yourself and make up your own mind. I will also link another article from the Ron Paul Institute by Daniel McAdams rebutting the quote-unquote fact-checking of said article. Also, I will include Dr. Bill Sardi's article archive at Lou Rockwell. Dr. Paul recommends that you read them. See, Ron Paul, in addition to being a former congressman and having been in and out of Congress for 5 decades and knowing how the machinery in DC works, was also a practicing physician for 6 decades. He knows what he's talking about. And what makes him different from most physicians is that he comes from a generation where doctors were trained to take medical ethics seriously. Today's doctors are just glorified pharmaceutical salesmen. And also, I'm going to link below a list of videos made by citizen journalists doing their due diligence by visiting emergency rooms to see if the hype lives up to the reality. Again, watch it for yourself, make up your own mind, think for yourself. Do not let these these grifters and spokesholes do the thinking for you. I really don't know who to be more angry with right now. The officials who are seizing on this to secure more power for themselves, or all these sheep out there who are willingly surrendering their God-given liberties to them in the name of safety. You know what? Not all of us are clicking our heels and shouting Heil. Not all of us are going to comply with stay-at-home orders or forced closures, and we are sure as hell not going to comply when somebody in a uniform sticks a gun at us and tells us to board a cattle car and then go inside some large building with belching smokestacks and obediently walk into that building because they say you're going to take a shower in there. No, I've seen that movie before. I know how that ends. There are those of us out there for whom the phrase, "don't tread on me," still means something today. I'm not talking about the keyboard warriors on Facebook who broadcast their punches with silly boogaloo memes, or those worthless lard-ass 3%ers who are all Molon Labe and come and take it during the 8 years Obama was president and then turned on a dime and became Cheeto-sucking thin blue liners in January 2017. No. There are those of us who want to live our lives in a manner that we see fit with no interference or harassment from anyone. And we will jealously guard our liberties. You know, I'm not going to care if we win or lose or die. If things keep going the way they're going to go, you know, if it turns into martial law, you know what we're going to see? Waco, Ruby Ridge, hundreds, thousands of them happening simultaneously across the lower 48 states and Alaska. It's not something I want to see happen. I don't want it to happen. I pray it doesn't happen. But these oversteps by both President Trump and governors throughout the country, including that sneering punk Gavin Newsom, makes it inevitable. God help us. Now, how is this affecting my life and my community? Well, I am fortunate enough to be in a line of work that's still considered essential by the state. But my heart breaks for those whose livelihood has been destroyed by forced closures. You know, not everybody has tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings to live off of for however many months they think this will last, and treat it like it's some staycation where you sit in your jammies all day long, sip wine, and watch Netflix. All right? There are people out there who needed that work to put food on the table, to pay the bills, to survive. The bars have been closed. Most restaurants are closed, though some are still doing takeout and delivery. The fast food places, particularly, are doing only drive-through business. Street criminals are, of course, exploiting the now empty business parks. Homeless squatting in office spaces. A few nights ago, somebody tried to rob an ATM. Fortunately, they were stuck in the attic, and it took the fire department to get them down before they were arrested. Churches are considered non-essential. Abortion mills are not. Or should I say, abortion mills are considered essential. California, go figure. Some churches here and across the country are holding online services. I'll give you a link to that below if you want to know what that looks like. Pastor Tom Albertson at Grace Lutheran is broadcasting his sermons from his house in his office. There are some priests, ministers, and rabbis throughout the country who are broadcasting their sermons either in empty sanctuaries at their places of worship. And then there are those who are placing pictures of members of their congregation in the pews. So it won't feel like they're just standing up there and talking to themselves. I've been keeping this a secret for a few months, but I started attending singles mixers. Now that's done and gone because of the venues being closed and because of the totalitarian and unconstitutional ban on social gatherings larger than 10 people. There's also an effect on the funeral industry. A coworker of mine died a couple weeks ago. Prostate cancer. We don't know if there's going to be a funeral or not. Because depending on the locality and the type of restrictions they have, funeral parlors are no longer holding services on their property, or if they are, they're limiting it only to 10 people. My friend and coworker, his name was Carlos Fierros. He was a fellow security guard. He patrolled the parking structures downtown. Sometimes on his breaks, he would swing by or before his shift, he would swing by the bus station on nights that it was rainy or really cold. Give me these, give me a coffee from McDonald's and one of those little apple pies that they carry there. He was a man of very deep faith, very deep conviction. Very good friend. And we can't give him the send off he deserves. This was a man who was very optimistic, had a very deep and abiding love for his fellow man, and perhaps the only good thing in his passing is that he's no longer around to see what the human race has become these past few weeks. Trying to find some way to end this on a high and positive note, but forgive me, I can't. This is Charles Bird signing out. Think while it's still legal. If any of you would like to share your perspectives, how this is affecting you and your part of the world, please put it in the comments below. If you disagree with anything that I had to say, please do so without being disagreeable. And don't give me any nonsense about how these restrictions are necessary, because they're not. They're not. The hype is worse than the disease, and this is all about control. And it's that obvious, and it's that obvious. Just don't just don't tell me that the sky is purple with green polka dots when it's really blue, because that's how it sounds. All right. I'll be back in a week or two. Hopefully, I'm wrong about all of this, but I've read too much history to be optimistic.